It's the Dominic Kelvin podcast, and we finally got the amazing, the magical, the inquisitive, the beautiful, raunchy Shannon Major here. And it's a great privilege for me to be able to actually connect with you again, because it's been a very long time. And every time I've sort of tried to message you, I keep thinking that you're in Australia and not in London. I have no idea where you are. You know, I've wanted to obviously meet with you face to face, but look, like this is I guess the power of technology. Now we're able to do this, and I can put you on my podcast channel. So first off, how are you doing? What's the crack?
I'm good. I'm actually in Edinburgh in an apartment that David Bowie stayed in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The amazing Bowie. Man, listen, all I can say is you're in a magical spot over there.
Yeah, it's very Harry Potter-esque.
Oh, really? I'm looking at all the decor in the background. So what we're going to do with you today, this is going to be like a online deep dive into me, okay? But first off, I want to go from scratch about your life, what led us up to meeting and so on. So where was you born, Shan?
I was born in Luton, in
Okay.
Luton Hospital.
All right.
And I lived in Dunstable.
Dunstable.
Bedfordshire, yeah.
Okay. And I mean, what was your bringing up like? You know, what would do you have brothers, sisters?
I'm an only child.
Same.
So I've got only child syndrome.
Same.
You probably know what that's like.
Yeah, I kind of love it a little bit.
Same. I think it makes you really independent and like a free thinker.
Yeah, I think as I've grown older, I like that I am an only child, and just because of the way I think, because we basically had to sort of rely on being by ourselves when we were younger. We might have close friends, family, whatever, but you are alone, essentially, going through
100%
adolescence and so on, and with the thoughts.
You're in your own bubble.
That's it, and your personality and so on. So, I mean, did you actually like being an only child when you was younger, though?
Yeah, I used to say to my mum, if you have another baby, I'm going to run away. Like, I used to think about the thought of having a sibling and be like, oh, no. Like,
okay.
Just the thought of not being like the star child.
Okay.
Felt horrible.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think mine was a bit like that. Obviously, I had a lot of close friends around me in this area in Essex. So people weren't too far away. I was close with my next door neighbours as well. Their two sons, Danny and Taylor. Hopefully I can find them again one day. I don't know where they are, but you know, I was always outside or about, but the introvert side to me, people would never think that because I'm a very out there person, but the introvert side to me, I think is what comes with being an only child. So did you ever have points where you was worried that you didn't have any brothers, sisters, or anything like that?
No, I've always really loved my own company. It's always been like a safe haven for me. Yeah. And I think like I've got a really extrovert side as well. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. And when you are that extrovert and you give that much energy to other people, you have to pull yourself back. Otherwise, like you just lose yourself.
Absolutely. Because I think as well with this, especially with the social media age, like people have watched me do things on a social media platform, probably the exact same age as you. So I've been doing things since Pixo. You know, do you remember Pixo?
Since when?
Do you remember Pixo? No. Do you remember Bebo?
Oh, I remember Bebo, yeah.
Yeah, so Pixo was before Bebo. I had Pixo in year 7, right? So that's the first year of
that's really early.
Yeah, really early. And I've always made music and stuff like that. So then moved on to MySpace, putting my music on there, you know, for people to judge your art and so on and so forth. And again, beautiful, amazing singer you are. Amazing. So you've always had that creative side as well. So
I've got like a random funny track that's still on MySpace floating around somehow. It just
really,
made me
what is
remember.
it?
It's a cover of Christina Aguilera, "Beautiful."
Listen, go Aguilera, trust me. Yeah, have you seen that? She's like
she's the one. She's the one.
She's a powerful, very, very powerful artist. And I think, do you know what? Like through growing up, I was obsessed with celebrities growing up. Growing up,
Same.
I was just obsessed with just the whole, I guess, fantasy of it all, and just how much MTV, was a part of our childhood. Because I don't want to ask your age. I know you're a female. I don't know if that's
I'm 30.
So you're 30. So I turned 30 June the 6th.
Right?
So
you're gonna turn 30.
That's right, in a few months.
Cool.
So we're basically the same age, same generation. Yeah. We're MTV kids, yeah? So
yeah, and VH1. I liked VH1 when they used to show you the films of like the stars' lives. I used to love that.
And we used to get the behind the scenes footage and the gossip and so I think growing up, I finally sit down and sort of realize the amount of pressure, the amount of sexualization on these women, and how incredibly powerful and famous they were. But the talent, though, because back then people could easily go, "Oh, the pop, the talent, and listen, I'm a music man in and out, right? And I hate when people just put people that do pop in a box, that because they do pop means they're not talented. So someone like Christina Aguilera, a powerful voice. You have a powerful voice, one of the best voices that I know, probably personally.
Aww,
so, and that's real talk. So when you're growing up now, what's your home life like, if you don't mind me digging into that?
Yeah, my home life was really hard. My mum and dad separated when I was about 1 or 2, and they both had me pretty young, in the really early 20s. So they were still kids. And they've even said to me, that's just what you did when you were our age. Like you had a kid.
Got married.
Whereas now for us, it's like, no, I'm going to do all these things. Like that's like more to the end of the list. But for them, it was at the start. And so, there was intention to have me, but they were both young and they had their own mental health issues and substance abuse and, all of the things that, young people actually go through.
Absolutely.
But with a kid. So I was fortunate enough to have really amazing grandparents, but it was hard. And being an only child, it was like a privilege, and I guess a drawback was having that alone time, which meant I could kind of be in my own fantasy, and I was always really spiritual from a very young age. And would always love singing and dancing. So I just kind of lived in my own bubble, and that was my protection from it all. And it honestly wasn't until my mid-20s that I came to realize how traumatized I actually was from the environment that I grew up in. And it's, what I'm saying is actually no different to what so many of us have had, but we don't often look back and realize, because we were protecting ourselves, we were shutting down, we dissociated, we repressed. So I only know what I know because I've just looked at it, and I'm not, by any means a victim or had it particularly worse than anyone else. I'm just really aware of my coping mechanisms that I had as a child, and I was carrying a lot of pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing with parents breaking up, I don't know about you, but I think you realize there's something that happens more towards your late teens that snaps, that you realize that, okay, my parents, they're actually people. They're humans. I think of if I was 22 and I was an absolute wanker at 22, running around balancing pints on my head and all sorts of shit. So if I had that that responsibility of partner, kid, house, God knows what sort of fuckery I would have been getting up to. So, but also I think you only learn down the road how much it hurts you and hinders your mind when it comes to feeling like abandoned a little bit. Because when you're an only child, people really don't understand that you are literally living in your own bubble, your own world. You haven't got that older person telling you what to do, like how to guide you or whatever. You may even be very secretive about things because you're just literally learning your own world, and sometimes that can be to a detriment as well, because I've definitely throughout my whole life lived in my own fantasies and lived in my own realities and stuff like that.
We form an identity around, well, I just get on with it, I'm on my own, so I can kind of escape it. And I think we can build quite a strong persona of like, almost like a bit of a hardness or like a joker, but because we haven't had that space as children, we haven't had siblings to feel their emotions or, have to think about anyone else. So it does make you selfish, and I think it makes you selfish in good ways and also ways that can affect your relationships later on. Like that's something I've had to deal with, is like, men saying like, you can tell you're an only child. I'm like, oh.
I think you sort of seem, I mean, when I met you, I think you seem very, very similar to me, that we can be both extremely out there, love human beings. That is what makes us tick. Music, human beings make us tick. Yeah. So people immediately just think that we're just happy all the time. We give all of our, ourselves to people. We can be a bit selfish because we're only children, but people don't see the dark side, is that we will give everybody every part of us. So people think sometimes because they see me online a lot, that means I'm just happy all the time. But I keep when I'm down, crying, depressed, whatever, by myself. I don't like to put that onto other people. When you go into work and people are pissed off and they push that on you because they're having a bad time or I'd never do that. I wake up every day, yeah, mate, how you doing? Bubbling. I think you may be similar, but people don't get the pain that some only children go through, especially with their parents being broken apart. So for you, like, how did you know at an early age, like what was this affecting? Was this affecting your school life? What music you was listening to? Like, how did you sort of deal with things?
I was just really, really strong, I think. Like on a surface level, I was quite not popular in school. I was never like a popular girl, but I was just myself, and I somehow just got away with being myself.
Same.
It's really interesting. So I was still quite weird. Like I was obsessed with horror films and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I used to wear like Japanese clothes from Camden. Like I modeled myself on like this Japanese cartoon called Puka for a couple of years, but I somehow got away with it. And I think it was that only child thing of like, well, I don't have any kids to compare myself to, so why wouldn't I be myself? So in that respect, I think I thrived. And like on my report cards, teachers would always say Shannon's very popular, she's really polite. I was just a chatterbox. And I think now I'm aware that I've probably got some ADHD, or whatever diagnosis that is, I probably have some ADHD. And that was part of the dissociating from the intensity of home life, so then kind of floating away, which it served me because it protected me from what was happening. And then also later in life, I've had to really look at that, doing 7 things at once all the time, and and getting lost in like socializing and partying and not being an adult.
So I'll explain sort of like how I remember meeting you. So I remember I've got a very
I was thinking about this this morning. I was like, what was the first time we met? Because I remember the times that we've met, but I don't know if I remember the first time.
I remember the first. The first was I was in line for Fuse, and you was with Megan and Olivia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was New Year's Day. This might have been like 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, at least 4 years ago, I think.
And I think you guys were literally next to us in the line, and it was fucking long, and it was in Hackney Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that, and that's the first time I met you, and I think I went through a stage from then, obviously following you online, and at that point, I think you started touching on doing online courses for women at that point. I'm not sure. So explain that period. So I've met you at Raving, we're having a good time, so on and so forth. And then obviously being able to follow what you're doing online, you started to, the vocabulary. That is one thing I noticed about you straight away. The vocabulary sets you apart from people your age right now on what you're putting online, which I thought was impressive. I did an English literature degree, so I'm obsessed with words, right? So talk to me about that transition at that point.
Yeah, so even now, I love going out dancing. It's one of my favorite things ever. Yeah, just as you do. It's like one of the loves of my life. And I guess I was at a crux point then where I'm trying to remember. I think I was working for a women's charity, supporting women who had experienced domestic abuse. And I was doing that in Brixton, I think probably at that time. And it was really, really intense. And I think it was around that time, had like a massive breakdown / spiritual awakening. Okay, and realized at that point, like, I can't be in the system. I can't work for the government. I just felt so caged, and I was living that life where it's like, go to work, have a wine on a Friday, go out at the weekend, because I'm trying to make up for the fact that I'm not enjoying life. I don't feel free, and I have to feel free. It's like embedded in my soul. I need freedom. That's
why I can't stay in one job longer than a year, mate.
Same. That's always been me. I've never been able to hack a job. Even if I love it, I'll get to a point where I'm like, no, I need to spread my wings.
Yeah, I'm literally the same. And trust me, we're going to dig deep into me soon, yeah? Because that's the problem I'm going through right now. So yeah, sorry, back to you.
Okay, yeah, no, let's talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
So yeah, I had a point where I was like, I need to build something myself, and what I want to give to women and what I want to help women with isn't something that the government is funding or supporting. It's not a well-known charity that they're employing people. So
especially at the time, sorry to cut you, especially at the time, because this was a few years ago where, the explosion of people sort of trying to push their agendas online and what they're interested in, and try and actually monetize it. There's an explosion of that now, which is quite beautiful, but which is also beginning to be a bit tacky. It's getting very oversaturated.
Yes.
So, you was doing this ahead of, to me, ahead of what other people were doing at the time. So at that time, what was the actual 9-to-5 job? What was that?
Yeah, it was working for a domestic abuse charity, and I was on the phone. I was holding about 20 odd cases, so I had women to support through their experience. So it was just really full on. But then I ended up doing like tarot cards at tarot fairs in like Hackney and different places in London for like 8 hours a day, like just doing reading after reading. And that was me just like kind of putting myself out there as, someone holding my own business and sharing my gifts, which is, it's really vulnerable, and you've probably experienced this yourself. When you're outside of the system and no one's directly employing you, and then you're wanting to bring yourself into the world purely through who you are, not by any accreditation or achievements, like literally because you have something that you want to share. And so to put yourself out there and then start, receiving money for that is a really like mind-blowing thing. When you start doing it.
People really don't understand. People don't understand. And sometimes I I'm so passionate about things that I've created and made money from. People don't get it. This exactly what we're doing right now. I made this podcast 7 months ago, and I've literally given myself to the world, literally, and it's working quicker than anything else I've ever created and pushed. I mean, even in the music world, the things that I've managed to visualize, sit down, lose money over, lose friends over, to be able to push something I believe and it actually work. Doesn't necessarily mean it works to everyone's standards in terms of maybe how much money you earn and so on.
But there's thing, man. There's an attraction. People are magnetized to it, like the right people.
Absolutely. So with you, was that hard at first, getting it off the ground? I mean, how did you know what direction to go in? How did you know you was going to earn any dough? Was you living at home? What was the crack like?
I was living in London, in Ealing. I had a room in a share house. And it was really hard because I was still also doing a lot of my own healing work. And that transition of like, I'm getting paid to be me, like to offer something that I don't even really know what it is, but it's just a way that I can meet people and feel them and kind of attune to them. And so it took me, quite a while to believe that that was worth something, and to start, charging at rates that actually felt, like abundant.
Yeah, absolutely. But sorry, carry on. Sorry.
No, go on.
Because again, the difference which sets you apart from most is the time and effort you clearly put in before your videos that you post online, which we're going to put all of your details to everything at the end of this episode. So, every part of your socials, your websites, everything like that. Okay. So people don't get what goes into putting content like what we do out online. I think they literally just think we just think of it off the top of our heads, bullshit, and which we sometimes do. I'm not gonna lie. But a lot of the time, it's not. And I think what sets you apart is the planning and execution of what you do is crazy. In my opinion, it's mad. And I really think it's so inquisitive and informative for both men and women. Now, I think it depends on what people look at it like. I'm going to ask you as well, did you get any backlash from this? So obviously at first when you was building your business, you was using, your features. Beautiful girl.
I was hoping you was going to talk about this.
No, absolutely. So, but I feel like at that point, I wasn't really watching anyone else do this at this point. So this obviously drew me into what you was doing. Did you know that doing pictures of a provocative nature would bring people to your business? Did you know that would happen?
No, if anything, I thought it would deter them, because there's, typically as a healer or therapist, you have like a professional image. And as we, just said, I just want freedom and I just want to be myself. So I, was offering quite deep, serious work while definitely also expressing myself and, showing my body and wearing what I wanted. So it kind of broke a bit of a barrier there in what we typically, see a therapist as.
Yeah.
But, when I look back, I don't have any regrets because it just is what it is. But I do feel like, you know, there was a trauma in me that was still kind of responding to this kind of self-objectification and almost wanting to kind of expose myself to show my beauty rather than like actually what's in here. And I didn't really know that. I just thought like, yeah, I don't give a shit, I'm hot. And now I'm kind of like, what was you trying to prove? You know? And that's just personally for me, and I don't, you know, judge or look down on anyone that does that. But I do think as women, we are conditioned to, you know, there's almost this like feminine empowerment, which is very much about, you know, how you look and I'm strong and I don't care and I'm hot. But it's like, but that's so surface level.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of engagement are you getting when you're just showing people like literally the surface of yourself? Which is something that you've carefully, you know, constructed and made sure that you look really great, and there's probably filters and shit like that. It's like, what are you showing, and are people like truly feeling you, like, and I seeing your heart?
Because I think with what you were doing, it was just on the surface level. So I mean, did you ever have any trouble with Instagram? Did they ever take your stuff off? Or anything like that?
Yeah, I've had that a few times. The worst thing for me is that when you do put yourself out that like that, it polarizes with a certain audience, and you get, you know, certain attention that, you know, feels pretty yucky. But it's like, it's, you know, it's just a flight of shit, really.
How do you? So at that point now, you know, your following's growing, and I guess, are you starting to see the fruits of your labor? Are you starting to? First of all, are you getting a lot of male clients at that point, more than women?
No, I have never worked with many men, and I don't know why that is. I think I am just a girl's girl, and I work in a very feminine way. You know, I work a lot with deep emotions and vulnerability and the soul. And a lot of men, you know, they operate on, and this is because of the way men are designed, they operate on more of a consciousness level. So the work that I do tends to not draw in too many men, but I love men, and I like feel like men's health and well-being is really close to my heart. And so it's not from like a, oh, I don't want to do that. It's just the way that, you know, God has designed it.
And what has your experience with DMT been like in the past?
DMT I haven't done too much of. I've done quite a lot of ayahuasca.
Okay. Could you explain the difference between ayahuasca and DMT?
I'm not the best person because I'm not good at scientifically explaining things, but there's something in the ayahuasca vine basically allows the DMT to go into your body and kind of gestate, whereas DMT is like a hit. So you're not going to get that hit for more than 10 minutes, but the ayahuasca vine allows it so it can actually stay in your stomach basically, so you can have like a, you know, 7-hour experience. That's
what was that experience like for you? Did that enlighten you to the person you are today? Because I even see a big shift in who you are now than who I met.
Yeah.
So much more confident and comfortable with yourself. It's beautiful to see, honestly. And you've got a great man at home. What's his name again?
Matt. His nickname's Run Wild.
Run Wild. He seems amazing, honestly. And I'm just so happy for you. I'm happy for you both. So, what is that experience like? I'm too scared to do it. Maybe in my later life. But what would it be like?
It serves a purpose, right? If you get to a point and you're like, do you know what? There's so much bullshit in me, like in my mind, there's just bullshit. And I want to just peel back those layers, right?
Yeah.
And I almost like want to shed it off. Like ayahuasca, mushrooms, psychedelics in general are one of the things that you can use that will allow you to shed those layers, and it will illuminate a lot of stuff in the unconscious.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it will bring
Acid
up
and mushrooms for sure, which I've
yes.
tried. So
Yeah, mushrooms are, to me, they're just as powerful as ayahuasca or DMT.
absolutely. So let's go back now. So before we go forward into, I guess, getting the Shannon experience, because I had a session with you when I was, because your version of what I might have been like at that point might be different to mine. At that point in my life, if I can remember right, I was going through hell, I think, from when we met, from when we had a session, sorry, which we had, it was an hour, was it?
Something like that. And I think we chatted quite a bit.
So do you remember what you came out of that session with me thinking? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what we touched upon, or maybe what I received from you, was around your experience with your dad.
Yeah, definitely.
And just your experience as like a young person growing up. And I can't remember the specifics, but without him there.
Yeah.
And I think what we touched on was, you know, the pain that was there, and some of the anger
Absolutely.
and hurt that you were holding. Do you feel like that that experience has shifted for you, or does it feel like something that's still present?
It's very present, still very present, because our relationship is very I've still got a lot of probably ego and anger in myself, because I know, because he is with another partner. He has been for quite a few years, so and lives quite far from where I live. So I think the ways in which we tried to connect when I didn't see him for many years, I didn't see him for a long time, was through working. So well, that it's a weird way to try and bond, because he does my bloody head in when we do work together. Like he's a very, very skilled kitchen fitter, bathroom fitter, any type of trade that needs to be done for a house to be done, a whole house, roofing, the electrics, he will do it to a crisp version of what he needs it done. And it's amazing to see, really. But you know, I haven't had him in my life a lot, so I hold to a lot of anger and pain in terms of, I don't need ya, don't need anyone, sort of thing. So I think I'm still angry. I haven't seen him probably the last year, like including 2020 and this year. So yeah, it does get to me. Yeah.
Can I ask, like, how do you sense that relationship has affected you as, like, I don't want to say young man in like a patronizing way, but you know, you're coming up to 30, so you're pretty young, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, how do you feel like that impacts you and within your own identity as a man?
I think it has made me think like I've got to do everything alone, like in my life, because I don't have any brothers or sisters. And I feel as I've got older, close friends have sort of disappeared through some of my own faults and theirs, and just life stuff. People have girlfriends, people move away, things like that. And I hold my friendships very dear to my heart. A lot of the friends I have are still the same friends that I grew up with from like nursery, secondary school, you know, primary school. So that hurts me. I just hold on to a lot of, not too much. I hold on to everything, the whole world, everything. I hold on to everything. Someone could say something to me and it'll hurt me, and I can remember it years down the line. You know, I hold on to too much things in the world. You know, I care a lot about what people think. Not as much now. I've got way better at not caring about what people think now. because I've got my mission and I know what I'm doing, and I'm a very confident guy. So I know I may sound very low and somber the way I'm explaining this, but I'm a very confident guy. But I have a very dark side to me as well, which makes me scared about life, because I feel like I can't see myself. And this all stems just from not having dad around, you know. Just as simple as that. I don't feel like I'm ever gonna have like a simple life where it's just I'm in a job in this suit, 9 to 5, I'm gonna pay the mortgage, I'm gonna be married. I just don't see that. So sometimes that gets me quite depressed, because I see everyone else around me. Not saying that I compare myself to others anymore. My good friend Joe Davis, one day, maybe 5 years ago, maybe, he said, Dom, stop comparing yourself to people. You've got to do your own thing, move in your own lane. So that stuck with me, and that will stick with me till I die. But you can't help it when you've kept up with your friends your whole life. You've passed your exams together. You've passed your driver's license together. You've both had a one-night stand the first time together. You both went on a lad's holiday together. You both got your jobs together. You both got your degree together. And then suddenly, you know, you feel behind everybody, and they've got girlfriends, and then they're buying a house over there. And so sometimes I just feel like, because I've not had a normal childhood, which I still wouldn't change for the world, it does make me get scared about life, which I know my mum probably gets worried about as well.
Yeah, there's like, you know, there's some real gifts and blessings in having an unconventional childhood, because, you know, like we were saying, it creates an independence and like a freedom thinker, and someone that's not scared to go outside the box and just be themselves in the world. And that's like, when you look at the rest of the world and the way people are functioning, that's actually quite unique. Absolutely. You know, there's not that many people that have that kind of courage, but there's almost like, you know, another side to it where that courage can kind of almost fall back on us as, you know, feeling separate.
Absolutely. Like, where I think for me, like, I was diagnosed with depression at quite a young age. And I still sort of like that as well. I know that sounds really bad, because I go through massive highs, massive and massive lows, which I think a lot of people do. But my depression from young just made me creative. Like, I wrote a diary. I literally made music from scratch. Films. Music, films, being around people, giving myself to people. I've always had that sort of depression weighing in me, where I'm an overthinker. I overthink and sometimes create my own realities and create my own problems, which is something I'm still learning, that I've got to sort that shit out, because that's probably a reason why some people have moved away from me, because of those facts. So I'm so much more self-aware. I think I've always been self-aware of myself. But the pain that I put into music, mixing, making music, whatever it is a way of just giving it to the world, like giving it to the world. Like, this is what I'm going through. Because some people don't get it. I think some people just think you're an attention seeker, or you want fame, or you want. It's like, no, like this is
it's literally
working for me. Like, me sitting in an office all day ain't working.
Like, if you couldn't turn that pain and that suffering into art, you know, into a form of expression, like, you'd go crazy. But it's a gift to the world, because it's like, all of this shit that I've been through, like, here, I'm giving it back.
For real, 100%.
You know, in whatever way that it wants to manifest itself, you know. But so it's really powerful that you've had that, like, tool and way of, like, dealing with your pain, but at the same time it's a cross to bear, because, you know, it's a weight to carry that. But, like, I'm really glad that you have found that, like, way to to process things, and like it's, you know, a way of transforming those experiences into something beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I
Can
just
I
think,
ask you a question?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel like
Ask me anything.
you sharing this is really inspirational, and something that so many, I mean, all of us men and women, because we all experience mental health and trauma, but
Absolutely.
specifically men, you know, there is still a gap, even with all this like buzz around, you know, well-being and spirituality and meditation.
It's just all,
There is,
yeah, I just find it
there
so
is,
fake now though.
yeah,
People just want to
but
write a status, and do you know what I mean? It gets to me, like,
but you're sitting here and you're just like talking about your truth, like your lived experience. You're not trying to make it sound spiritual or sell something. You're just being real and
yeah,
sharing your story. And like it, for me, I really, really wish that more men had the space and had the courage to do that, like with
absolutely.
each other and to the world, because men's mental health is something that's so overlooked and minimized. It's like we see all the suicides, and I know that you've had people in your life that have
Free.
taken their life.
God bless all of their souls, honestly. And it ain't gonna stop, you know that. That's the scary thing. You know, the last person, Nathan, God bless his soul, he took his life during COVID. You know, he left behind daughters, you know, like, and to think that you're so ready to leave this earth that you're prepared to do that, there's a problem, you know. And I could talk for days about it. And again, I'm never saying that I haven't had suicidal thoughts. I think most people on this earth have had suicidal thoughts.
100%.
But to say that I could actually do it, there's no way. Like, but because I may sit here and, you know, be quite on a somber one today, because I'm really giving myself to everyone here. But I've had a good go. I have done a lot of crazy things in life that a lot of people could wish that they could do. So I am blessed in that sense that I have gone out there, and the reason I've got to these places in my life is because I have put myself out there to fail.
Yeah.
You know, so anyone watching,
there's a fire that's created in those that suffer deeply. There is a creative fire that possesses you, and it does create this unstoppable force. And it's like, it's using the material of that suffering and doing something with it. And I think that's just one of the most powerful things that we could do. But I'd love to know, like, from your perspective, like, what do you feel like men in particular like need to start doing, like with each other and in themselves, to start actually like getting honest about like their mental health and their emotions, and actually like taking a look at what's under the surface?
Well, I haven't got the answers for you, because if I did, maybe I'll be making a difference out there. However, my version to how I think I can help is exactly what I'm doing right now. So some of the conversations I've had with people, men in particular, through this podcast space has changed my life, because people are opening themselves up on a crazy level when you have a podcast with somebody that they wouldn't do with any other. So I feel that that's my gift, that anyone that wants to have an open, honest conversation about anything they're doing, anything, you know, I've spoken to criminals, porn stars, famous people, depressed people, people who are rich, people who are poor, like, and one thing I realize about every single one of you, including yourself, is that even if you hate somebody, hate them, you sit down like this, and I can guarantee you're going to come out of that conversation liking that person just a bit more. So the answer to your question is, like, we have to speak first.
Yeah.
We have to train. We have to speak. Those are the two things. Exercise.
When you say, workout.
Workout, sorry.
Yeah.
So you have to train. When I say train, exercise. And you have to speak. Because boys do a lot of joking and a lot of ego and a lot of, it's a lot of bullshit. I like it as well, because don't get me wrong, I'm a manly bloke. Like I feel like the manly bloke is being brushed as toxic now, just because people find the whole alpha masculinity thing that it's that we're trying to, you know, reenact the caveman and sort of oppose women and ideologies that, like, for example, gay people or transgender and so on, just because I act in a masculine way means that I'm probably opposed to these types of people or whatever, which is not the case, you know. So we have to talk. And what about for women?
Yeah, well, I think that what you said is universal, and I think that's a really beautiful point that you made. Like, when two people sit down to have a chat about, you know, the real stuff and just life and experiences, like, it just kind of dissolves our differences and our separation. And like you said, it's like we can't meet someone on that level and not walk away just feeling their humanity and like feeling, you know, love for them in some way, because we're meeting them on a human level. And I think with social media and Instagram and the way people construct a certain identity to the world, it's like we're just meeting life on the surface, and it's through very superficial things, you know, followers and how I look and, you know, whatever, what I've got going on in my life. And then we end up, you know, like, oh, they're fucking fake or blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we're meeting each other on such a shallow level, we can't feel each other's humanness. And if we, you know, if more people on the day-to-day were just like, yeah, I feel like shit today, or this amazing thing happened, like just speaking through what's alive, like what's real, what's true for you, not what you think you should say or how you should look, but like what's actually here. And I just feel like we would feel so much more connected and at home with each other if we were just telling the truth.
Absolutely, because you know,
we've all had fucked up experiences, you know, everyone. It doesn't matter where you come from. We all feel like shit, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, you know, I recently went through something where I felt like lying would be better than telling the truth. And, you know, obviously looking back at that situation, it's not. And it came again to just being fired from a job and me not wanting my friends to realize I got fired from a job because it's embarrassing. But it happens all the time in construction, all the fucking time. You'll get on another site the next day or the next few days, whatever. But then them finding out that that's not what happened, and then them being upset with me for that. And, you know, looking back, I was completely wrong. You know, lying's never right. But the only reason I lied, and I'm never saying that you should lie ever, but I just was so fed up with just the bullshit that's going on with me doing plumbing. I mean, I've been doing plumbing 5 years, self-employed 5 years. And you know what? I probably earned the most money I've ever earned. But my God, you know, it has been hell. You know, people trying to knock your money, being in and out of different jobs, people talking to you like a slave, people being racist to you. And listen, there's one thing that I don't go through life doing is saying everyone's racist. I really don't. People can even say something racist, and to me, they're not racist. But that's for another day. We'll talk about that another time. So I'm a people person for whatever color you are. But in the world of construction, I think it's taken me a long while to realize that this environment however much dough I can earn out of this I'm gonna be in an early grave. I was drinking more because I was so going out more, getting on it more, because I was just I can't do this, but I can do it. You know, I got better and better at it. I could deal with the horrible working conditions. But then when you've been unblocking shit out of big pipes day in and day out for a few weeks, even though you're getting £200 a day or whatever, I'm just like, something's got to give. So, you know, 2020 has been a very horrible, but also enlightening time for me. And I hope it has been for you, because I mean, I am literally on the cusp of doing something I've always dreamed of doing. And I am doing what I've always dreamed of doing, just like this. So things have been very crazy. Things have been moving fast. Things have been growing. I'm getting a lot more people contact me, and a lot of people change, you know, their perception of me. And so it's a beautiful thing what's going on in my life right now. But I'm also going through the transition of trying to push myself into, you know, the media environment, to sell obviously the podcast I'm doing to a larger conglomerate to enable this to be my life. So I'm going through that transition. So do you think that, like what you said right at the beginning of this podcast, which hit me, is the whole work thing? I've worked since I was 15. Do you know what I mean? I've worked in different countries. I've done shit jobs. I've done good jobs. I've done promoting, DJing, bar work. I've been a recruiter. I've been a delivery car driver. I've done graduate schemes, you name it. So do you think that, like, I just have to do a self-employed lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely. I think like everything you said and just what I know of you, like, yeah, you just keep doing what you're doing because you're doing something right, but keep doing it because it's fun, because it feels good, and because it's real. And trust me, like, it's all just gonna fall into place and it will just keep expanding. But yeah, like, you're not going back. I don't think you're ever gonna do a job like that again.
No, I definitely not.
I can honestly feel it. Like, you're just going to keep expanding and growing, and I think more opportunities will just like arise, because I think you're in the right place, and I think that you're on the way to creating something like really special and like that's fulfilling a need. Go on.
Phone's ringing. Right. So lastly, obviously I can take that bit out, it's no problem. So
can I ask you another question?
Yeah, ask me as many as you want, because we're gonna go through to the last little chapter. But yeah, ask me anything you want.
Okay. So can you tell me a bit about your romantic life, and also like where you're sitting with having a woman in your life, or if there is a woman in your life?
So I've been in one serious relationship which ended badly. And then I flew to Zani and was basically just I was like 21, so I was with her at university, and she broke up with me. And then, to be honest, I could have maybe tried to work on it after that point, but I basically just took like a one-way flight the next day after she broke up with me. And I was moving mad. I started, like, you know, she didn't realize that I'd left the country as well. And then I stayed there for like 5 months, and then I kept posting pictures of girls that I just had sex with on Facebook. And I was just young, and I was so in love and heartbroken that she finished it. But remember, I was young and an idiot, and you know, she's got a child, and I believe she's married. I'm not too sure, but she's blocked me on everything, so fuck knows. But you know, all the best to her. I wish every good thing on her and her future. So from then, I was kind of with a girl from Liverpool, but she lived too far. So that was about a year. So from then, so since I was about 22, I've been single. Where I've just been flying around, traveling around, working different jobs, and then my music started getting much bigger. So I started just basically having sex with different women a lot, and feeling like that's validation at that point.
Yeah. We all do it. We all do it. We've been there, done that. Like, there's not, I don't really trust any person that says they've not done that in some way.
Yeah, 100%.
But do you feel like that relationship that you spoke of where you got the flight the next day, do you feel like that's kind of like stayed with you?
Yeah, man, because of the way it ended. It fucked me up. I ain't gonna lie. It was. Well, I mean, I think obviously like my friends around me probably realized like, yeah, Dom, like, I don't think it's working anymore. But I was just, to be fair, I made a lot of mistakes. So she had to do what she had to do, but it was the way it happened.
Yeah.
It was the way she sort of did it, and me being it was like our last day of university. Did it on like the last night when I didn't. She like had no heads up, nothing like that, and like I had like I thought like I had a big future ahead and stuff like that. So from that moment, my life just like I remember being by myself. She did it by text as well, and and I remember my head clicking, me ringing my good mate Tom, who was in Napa. I said, "Give me your details. I'm coming to Napa tomorrow." He went, "But what about my ex?" I won't say her name, but what about your ex? And I said, "Yeah, nah, she's dumped me, mate. I'm getting on the next flight." Got on the next flight, and then we was in Napa for like a month, and then he's actually met his beautiful girlfriend, who I'm very close with to this day, Danielle. They're engaged now. So from that moment when we was 21, they met in Napa, and now we're 30. They're still together from us being homeless. So we was homeless at one point there. So then we left from being homeless. We left there and flew to Zante, where we had worked in our first year of university. So I had a job, then the guy really wanted me back. So he said, "Okay, I will pay for you to come from Napa to come and work for me over there." So it was like, sweet. So we stayed there. And obviously I'm just chopping through gyal.
Do you feel like
and to make myself feel better, but it wasn't working.
Yeah, of course. Do you feel like maybe like before that happened, you almost felt like, because when you meet someone and when it, it feels like, the one and it feels long term, there's like a relief, isn't there? It's like, oh, like that part of life's almost like solved itself. So did it feel like you kind of almost felt like you had that in place, and then it's like, oh,
well,
no,
I didn't want it. I'll be honest with you, like I didn't want to fall in love with anybody, because at university my sole aim was to do the whole university thing, is have sex with girls. I was 19 when I first went to university. 18, 19, moved out of my home. Do you know what I mean? Living on campus. My aim was, probably weren't even to get a degree at that point. I want to party and I want to have sex with women. That was what I wanted at that point. But then when we met, that all changed. And I, I was known for the party guy, the DJ, and then I just changed, never cheated on her, nothing. So
do you think that, because men and women, we do this, we feel that enticement of like, having sex with anyone that we find attractive, there's a thrill. Do you feel like in retrospect, it's almost like, oh, it wasn't that fulfilling? Or I don't know, as a woman, that's kind of how I felt about it, but I don't know if you relate.
I knew it at the time. It was like, have you seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall? When he's crying, when he's having I'm telling you, and again, I'm young and it sounds so disgusting and stupid, but you know, I'm telling the boys at home, because obviously it's just me and my good friend out there. I'm messaging the boys at home. Yeah, I've had sex with 6 girls in 8-9 days, or and feeling like, yeah, I don't care about her now. I'm over her, and to be honest with you, it still affects me now. That how it all ended, and how, you know, she has no contact, blocked me and everything like that, which I still don't really understand. But that's fine. That's her prerogative. If that's what she wants, you know, I would never say a bad word about her. If she was in if she was in trouble right now and rang me, I would help her. So, you know, I just and then I've met so many, especially when I started working in Ibiza, living in Ibiza for those seasons. You know, I've met some really good women, but because I was just a dick and pissed off, even to now, I might meet a girl and we have sex and stuff, and then I'm just like, I'm just not, I can't, not saying I can't stay with one woman, because again, I wouldn't cheat on a girl or anything like that. I just haven't found the right one, I would say. But I don't know, man.
Do you feel like it's a weird one. Do you feel like this kind of like, you know, Love Island, Tinder kind of culture that we have as young people, it's like we've almost lost that like alpha masculine like tradition of like courting a woman and like actually wanting to like really get to know someone.
But I do the old school stuff.
Treated like you do.
I do all the old school courting.
So you're a romantic at heart then?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm someone, I'm going to hold the door open for you. I'm going to take you on a good meal. I'm going to pay for the first meal. I don't care what people think of that, feminist, whatever. Like, I want to pay for the first meal. It is what it is. You can think about that however you want. I want to pay for the first meal. I want to take you out. I
love it.
Yeah, man. I want to love you and show you what of things to come. But again, you know, I'm confident, man. I literally, you know, I'll ask for a girl's number if I'm on the train to work. Like, if I see a bird and I want to speak to her, I'll do it in such a non-weird, because you're a female. There are some very weird men out there that the way they approach women is just is weird. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a fucking professional. Me being drunk going up to a woman, and me being sober talking to women is the two different things. So, and I'm a part of that culture of when you used to go out, get drunk, and speak to girls, and you know. So when I had to move on to the Tinder world, it's a very. I've met some nutters. Because the thing is, if you meet a girl, right? Like, say you're having a drink and you meet her there, and then you get her number and take her on a date. You've kind of done a date already, because you know her banter, you know what she looks like face to face. You get it. You know how tall she is, her weight is, if that's something that you care about. But on Tinder, people can create their own personalities, what they look like, what their weight is, everything. So I've met girls that like, they just on Tinder, it's just completely. It's a weird world, man. It's a weird world. You've got to be, and as women, you've got to be very, very careful, because I mean, I had a girl once, not close, but close to me, who had a close friend who went on a Tinder date and got killed on the Tinder date.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Wow. So God bless her soul. So I know that's quite out there in terms of what can happen, but mate, Tinder is. I mean, a lot of people don't use Tinder anymore. A lot of people use Hinge or Bumble, or you know.
Yeah, Tinder's, you know, there's a parasisticness, and this is what I've been looking at recently, you know, Love Island, Tinder, like all these things that, you know, almost glorify this like casual dating and hooking up. It's like, it's parasistic. It's like, oh, we're trying to extract some validation or pleasure or thrill, and it's like, it's so, you know, left the realms of like heart and meeting, you know, soul to soul. It's sad. It's like, really, no wonder people feel lonely or feel, you know, insecure, because we're not conditioned to meet people you know, on a deeper level, it just gets very synthetic, and it's such a shame. And then, you know, unfortunately, look at a lot of the people in that world, you know, reality TV world, and you know, I have a strong sense that their mental health and, you know, emotional well-being is, you know, definitely hindered through that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've met quite a few, and I mean, speaking to, you know, Pete, who won Big Brother in 2006.
I saw a clip of that the other day. I love him.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that is, I'm trying to think in my head now with all the episodes I've done, but that episode's up on YouTube now, guys. It's not now, but when this is out, it will be out. But yeah. So and you know, being able to sit down and speak to someone and actually really get their side of the story of what it was like and the effects of how it was after. I mean, you only have to listen to the podcast I do with them to really see it, you know. So do you think with me, what am I doing wrong? What can I change? Because I feel like I do hold myself accountable with things, but not always, just because I'm human. What am I being a dick about and they need to change?
Well, I never feel like, I don't feel it as like, oh, you know, you need to slice that off. But I mean, I'll like, just, you know, being attuned to you in this call, like I can feel like you're very open, but I can see like when it hits a certain vulnerability, you kind of talk a lot over it. And I know that's like classic Gemini trait as well. We want to talk through our feelings instead of like being in the moment of truth and feeling that, like, you know, the depth of what we're actually touching. And so I can imagine that the way that might impact you is showing, you know, a very smiley, like cheeky face, but maybe not really meeting women on that deeper level, like, because one of the most beautiful masculine traits, like you were talking about, you know, alpha masculinity, and I like really agree with you. And I think we have lost the essence of what it means to be a man. Like, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but, you know, look at this culture now with men fake tanning and, you know, like the grooming, and like we've gone so far away from masculinity. Like it's so sad.
It is.
And
there'll be people out there that say, well, that's not masculinity because, and I can just say, just please shut the fuck up.
We don't, as a planet right now, we don't even really know what masculinity is because it's been lost. So it's even hard for us to, you know, say what it means anymore to be a man. But like my experience, like even with my partner now, is one of the most powerful traits he has is just his presence and just how much he can see me and witness me.
Absolutely.
Like just clear presence and things like that, you know. I know personally, and from other women I've spoken to, like that act of just being seen by a man, like just that space of presence, like he doesn't even have to say anything, but that way that he looks at you and sees you, you know, it's in the subtleties, and it takes a certain amount of slowness and, you know, willing to be uncomfortable to have those exchanges. And I think we do live in a world where it's like, and we speak through the mind, and we speak through, well, I did this and then this happened, and we don't live through the heart.
I fully understand.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe for you, that's just the next step of like your development, where you're going to start also feeling seen by others, and then seeing them, and just having deeper relationships.
And I've just got to man up and get over my ex, basically. Let's be fair.
Well, not even man up. It's like, you know, bring that grief to the altar of truth. That's what I call it. Like, you know, bear that grief to existence. Like whether it's just you in your room, like sit down with yourself and be like, right, let's just fucking like, let me just be with and meet this part of me that's still holding on and that feels abandoned.
Absolutely,
and
man.
like, because it's the truth, and it doesn't need to be glossed over and like, oh, like fuck that off, like it's real. But and until you fully meet that and feel it, you're not going to move on, because that timeline, that experience is going to stay in your body, and you're going to keep manifesting it, because it's a living energy in your system. So we create by what we feel. So if
Absolutely.
you're still feeling it, it's going to seem like it's almost true on some level. It's like, well, that happened, I lost them, like I didn't feel like I got the ending that I truly needed to feel, you know, valued and loved. And so we hold on to that, and then it clouds the way we see reality. Absolutely. And the way we see ourselves. So it's so important to feel the depths of that. And it is painful, but it's honestly, like, beyond ayahuasca and anything, the most liberating moments I've ever had in my life is when I fully feel the depths of my pain and I go out the other side, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. I get you. But listen, Shan, I think we've had a really, really good progressive chat about your life and about the traumas I've gone through and still going through, and I really am rooting for you. I've always rooted for you from the get-go. The next thing you need to do is write a book, 1,000,000%. I hope you're in the making of that. That is definitely something that I really believe can happen. Lastly, listen, is there anything that you want to say as we depart?
Just thank you for having me. It's been really nice to just have a chat with someone that's on a similar wavelength, and, you know, we're around the same age and we've grown up, you know, in kind of the same culture. And I think it's just really it's just really powerful to have these conversations on this level, because I'm in a kind of spiritual community, so I don't get this level of, like, you know, going to fuse and raving, but also like being a creative as well. And I think it's like a sweet middle spot of, you probably have it as well, it feels like you're in multiple different worlds.
Oh yeah, I always feel that. I always feel like I'm in so many different types of environments, and where I've got to show different parts of my personality to people. But yeah, well, lastly, I don't know if you're up for it, but I think you've got a great voice. Do you want to do a little sing song?
Oh.
Do you want to do a little sing song? It's up to you.
I don't know what song to sing.
All right. What about Beautiful, Christina Aguilera, just the chorus? It's up to you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Come on, Shannon.
You are beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can bring you down. Oh no. So don't you bring me down today.
Yes.
I haven't sung that song in so many years. Thanks for asking.
It was beautiful. Listen, you have got one of the best voices that I know, man. If I was still recording, I would get you straight on the track straight away. So, listen, I love you, darling. I really appreciate everything you've done for me today. We're going to put all your details down on here, and we're going to get it back to you in due course, all right? And honestly, send love to your partner. He seems like a great man. And just keep riding for each other. I think you're going to have a beautiful life together. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And I will speak to you soon.
Big love.
Big love to you.